to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. This is Mr. Danny Byra to my left, and Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton. All right, we're panel today, and we're here for revocation decision. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am. I haven't seen you in so long. You look totally different.
Well,
I used to be a trustee in Angola in the early 80s, and you had came through the front gate.
oh,
I was a
okay.
cook.
That's been a while. I guess you changed too.
Thank you. I'm almost 60.
All right, look, we're here for a revocation decision. I'm going to read the allegation against you. You'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And then we'll have a conversation about it. But first do you have a parole revocation questionnaire there with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature at the bottom of that page?
Yes, ma'am.
And based on that information on that form, it was determined you're not eligible for an appointed lawyer today. Are you ready to proceed?
Well, I had requested for a lawyer, but they told me that as long as I could read and write the English language, they denied it.
Right, you said you weren't eligible for it. So are you ready to proceed?
Yeah, and then no. Let me explain why. Because the victim, as well as the witness, she has all the proper evidence of.
You can tell us about that. You can tell us about that once we get into our interview. But are you ready to proceed today?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's move forward. All right, Mr. Thompson, you are accused of violating the conditions of your parole, and first is condition number 3. And condition number 3 states the address on your good time parole certificate on West Chestnut Street in Lacombe, which is where you resided since you were released from prison November 15, 2023. On May 16, 2024, you were informed you're no longer allowed to have contact with Idel Batiste, and you would not be able to go back to live at the residence on West Chestnut Street due to reported threats that were made. Due to being a sex offender, you're required to live in an approved residence. On May 20th, 2024, you provided the address 312 Clearwood with no contact person or phone number. The parole officer attempted to make contact with someone at that 312 Clearwood address. However, there was no answer at the door. The officer left his business card in the door with a note to contact him. On May 23rd, 2024, another attempt was made to contact someone at that address. Having knocked numerous times, there was no answer at the door. The officer observed his business card that he left on May 21st, still in the door, so that address is denied. So how do you plead to violating condition number 3 about the approved residence?
I like to plead not guilty with a statement if it's all right with you.
Yeah, and we'll get your statement when Mr. Byra, your case has been assigned to Ms. Stapleton. She'll take the lead on the interview and she'll take your statement. But let's finish with the allegations first. So that's not guilty with a statement to number 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Then we have number 4, condition number 4. You engaged in criminal activity when you obtained, possessed, and ingested cocaine as evident by the drug screen administered to you April 8, 2024, which showed positive results for cocaine. So how do you plead to violating number 4?
I would like to also plead not guilty with a statement.
Okay. Then we have condition number 10. You failed to submit monthly supervision fee payments as instructed. You're currently $350 in arrears, having never submitted a payment. How do you plead to number 10?
Well, I lost my job. Boy. How
No, you can tell us about that, but you have to plead guilty
okay. I want to plead not guilty with a statement.
And then number 13 says you had a special condition, which was pay your $65 processing fee. You failed to pay any money towards your $65 processing fee and your arrears on that fee. How do you plead to violating that condition?
Same as the last, Your Honor.
Is say it out. You gotta say it. What is it?
Oh, not guilty. Not guilty. I want with a statement.
Okay, I got it. All right, as I said, your case has been assigned to Mrs. Stapleton. Would you answer her questions?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Ms.
Um,
Stapleton.
So I know that you're going to have a statement with everything, okay? I understand what you said on there. So the first situation is that you were supposed to live at a certain address on Chestnut Street in Lacombe, Louisiana. And then we have that you weren't there. And then you gave an address at 325 Clearwood Drive, Slidell, Louisiana, correct? And that wasn't an approved address.
There is I can explain right now.
Yeah, tell me.
You may not believe this, but this is all this has been read. If you allow me to explain, and you can be the judge for yourself. On May the 13th, Mrs. Idea Baptiste received a telephone call on her cell phone at her house. She called me out of the kitchen and told me that sex offender registration at the courthouse in Compton want to speak to me. So when I get on the phone, Mrs. Angie Cooks asked me, could I come in a week ahead of time because she wasn't going to be in on Friday. I said, well, when would you prefer me to come in? I could do that for you. She said, well, come in tomorrow morning at 8:30. I came there at the courthouse at 8 o'clock. When I get to the courthouse to go in there for my annual registration, a couple of deputies after hearing me told me, excuse me, what is your name? And I told him, I said, Ron Thompson. He said, well, you the guy I was told to come get. I said, come get for what? He said, I was told to lock you up for a speeding ticket that was 2.5 years old. He said, I was told to arrest you for a speeding ticket. I said, 2.5 years ago, I was in prison. He said, hey, I know what you mean. He said, that ticket was supposed to have been done away with. He brought me over to the police station. And he got on the computer. He said, man, you is right. He said, this ticket's over 2.5 years ago. He said, you was in prison. I said, I was telling you that. He said, well, I'm still got to lock you up. So they brought me over to the jail. As soon as I get in the lobby at the holding tank, they stripped me completely naked and they put me on suicide watch without my permission, without me requesting it. They stripped me naked and I was denied a phone call for 4 days straight. They finally took me off and allowed me to make a phone call. And my bum was already preset for the $60, $70 ticket. And so when I get on the phone and call Mrs. Idell, which is my girlfriend, I've been living with her for 5 years at that address, Mr. David Belfont shows up in the holding tank and tells me, you can no longer live at that address. I said, why? He would never tell me why. And I said, I've been living at this address for 5 years since 2019. I have never had a confrontation or argument with anyone.
Well, let me tell you why. This is why. It's because Miss Adele Baptiste said that you had been threatening her and that you had been drinking alcohol.
Okay.
She didn't want you there. So there was an order of protection.
Okay.
So that was the end of that one. So that's what happened.
Okay. She said when she went to the hearing, if you look at that paper, she came to the hearing up here, the revocation hearing.
I see that, and that's not unusual. And then I read where she said that that this man has never ever threatened me, and that he helps me around the house, and he cooks and cleans, and he bathes her, and I haven't had a good bath since the man has been in jail, and that she's opposed to and she's not opposed to Parole Thompson living with her. So that's not unusual for that to happen.
Obviously, he didn't take the word for it because I take her word or my word. He started going along with this issue. So she went to people and got a documentation notarized. The people notarized the registration, and she tried to get the power of attorney, and she went to the courthouse to try to get telephone log books from the courthouse. They wouldn't give it to her. And
Let me
then,
ask you something. How did you come up with the next address? 312 Clearwood Drive, Slidell. Where did that come from?
that's my old work partner. That's my work partner. And just so happened, he had got in a domestic dispute or argument with his old lady, and he's locked up here.
Huh. Well, okay.
That's what
So,
happened.
so you used that address. So when they approached you and asked you about this other situation, how come it didn't come out? Why did you change your address then? Because, I mean, they didn't come up with this address, you did.
Because, miss, I didn't know what was going on. I told you, with all due respect, they strip me naked, throw me in the tank. 4 days later, the man come to see me, just straight out of the sky blue, told me I got to get somewhere. Some wondering why.
Okay, so number 3. So you did give them another address and it says, I will live at the address on this certificate. If I must move from the address, I will get permission from my parole officer before doing so.
You know, I did that without thinking because when I kept asking him why, he would never tell me why, miss.
All right, so he went there like was read to the new address. You never were there. And then at one point, Mr. Philip Pierce was there and he said that was his residence. And he stated that he did not know parolee Ron Thompson. So let's move on from that, okay?
Can I ask you a question, miss?
Okay.
My witness or the victim, she has signed notification paperwork authorized, it's been notarized, and she could testify to herself.
She's not here.
Okay, but you couldn't call her?
Well, no, that's what Zoom is for. She could have called in on Zoom. So we're going to go to number 4, okay? It says that you possessed and ingested cocaine as evident by a drug screen administered, and you showed positive for cocaine. You said you have a statement with that one. What's your statement?
Not guilty, miss. I have paperwork. Miss Idea Baptiste got all the paperwork, notarized and everything from Slidell Memorial Hospital. It's showing that the doctor, I fell off the job off the top of a house and I was injected with morphine for pain and they prescribed me medicine and I went to Robert Road Action Health and they gave me a prescription for oxycodone. That's what that was.
Okay, so the prescription bottles that were sent in, one of them in your name, or your name, was a muscle relaxer, and the other one was ibuprofen, 600 milligrams. It was not hydrocodone. You may have thought it was, but it wasn't.
She grabbed the wrong bottles off the dresser. I got numerous bottles on the dresser. She grabbed the wrong one. She's 70 years old and I'm 60 years old. She grabbed the wrong bottles. All you have to do is call her. Everything I'm telling you is the truth.
Okay, let's move on from there, okay?
Yes,
So you failed to submit monthly supervision fee payments as instructed. You are currently $315 in arrears. Now, you said that you were behind on that because you hadn't worked, but you just now said you fell off a roof because you were working.
that's when I ain't been out for 6 months out of jail. I fell off the top of a house and they had to take me to Slidell Memorial Hospital. And the lady doctor that was there, she hurried up and shot me with morphine in my hip. I have the paperwork from Slidell Memorial. If you would call me, so I did. Everything's signed and notarized. But y'all won't let her in the jail so she could testify or so you can see the paperwork yourself.
Not my job. Okay, so, and then the last is a special condition for $65 processing fee. What you got to say about that?
I didn't have no money to pay it.
Okay.
It ain't like I wouldn't pay it.
All right. Well, I'm going to move it along to my other colleagues to see if they have any questions for you. Mr. Bauer?
I have no question.
All right, and I don't have any questions either, Mr. Thompson. It's unfortunate that Miss Idell is not here today. Everything we have in the record points to your violations.
I haven't committed a crime. There's nothing in the paperwork that said I committed crime.
Mr. Thompson, you violated the conditions of your parole. I think we are prepared to vote, Mrs.
Yes.
Stapleton.
I vote to revoke your parole based upon violation of 3, 4, 10, and 13 conditions.
Mr. Barrow?
I vote to revoke your parole for the same reason as Ms. Stapleton.
Mr. Thompson, the evidence that we have in the record refutes the statement you've made to us. So my vote today is I find you guilty of violating the conditions of your parole. My vote today is to also vote. Good luck to you, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, ma'am.
That concludes our business at St. Tammany. It's 10:03.
Can I ask a question before y'all